Hey, what's going on, guys? Edwin here on episode 11 on Muay Thai Save Me, and today we wanted to do a couple of changes. We just kind of wanted to chop it up with my boy right here, Neil, and we wanted to do things different, and we have so much things going on in this month and the next month coming up, and we figured, why not just make a podcast out of it? What do you think?
I love it. Yeah? Let's do it.
Awesome. So we have a shitload of things going on, man. With we have Supergirl coming.
Yeah.
We have David's fight.
Yes.
I believe Martin's also fighting.
Yes.
And the gym's been busy and all that. So I guess my question to you is, because you have more experience in this game more than I do, is this his third fight for us?
No, he's this will be his fifth.
Fifth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He's 3-1 right now.
Got it. But this is his. Is it considered professional fight with like no shin guards and all that?
It's
no
a
headgear?
sanctioned amateur fight.
Got it.
So he'll be fighting with no headgear, no shin guards.
But this will be his second, right?
No, his fifth.
No, I mean without the
this will be his second without the gear. Yes.
And how many more times before it like becomes? How does that work? Like, how does it?
Honestly, a lot of people don't realize is that to become a professional fighter, all it is paying a small fee and signing some paperwork. That's it. Anyone can be a professional. But obviously people that know this game and are practitioners of it, they know like you don't do that. You're throwing yourself into lines. You got to build yourself up. You have to start from the amateur ranks, work your way up where you're wearing shin guards and headgear. So eventually you're working your way up to you're not wearing gear anymore. And then, you know, it depends on the relationship of the coach and the fighter. Yeah. How well is the fighter doing in his competitions? Maybe he or she is so advanced that they're like, you know what, there's really no competition in the amateur circuit anymore. We need to step it up to a new ring. You know what I mean? And that's where you guys would talk like, oh, let's go pro. Gotcha. But that's typically everyone's curve is different in their career. Some people take years, some people take 1 year. I've seen people in 1 year, they're just doing so well, they just think that it's better to go pro. So yeah, that's a great question though. A lot of people don't really know.
Yeah, I didn't even know, and I've been with you since 2004, and I didn't even know that's really how it works. And we've been partners 4 years already. So and just so you guys know, we have a episode with David following up to his fight. I think we just launched the first one, right?
Yeah, it's called Fight Camp.
Fight Camp. So which it's on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
And it just kind of it follows his journey of his training and
so it basically follows his training through his fight camp each week as it leads closer and closer to his fight leading up to the fight, where you'll actually see footage of him, you know, in the dressing room, walking up to the ring, getting in the ring and competing, all that good stuff, to even the aftermath of him walking back to the dressing room, you know. Yeah, so it's a new series that we have launched. It's called Fight Camp, guys. If you've ever seen UFC Embedded or like the Boxing's 24/7, this is our spin, the MTK spin on, you know, what Muay Thai fighters, what MTK fighters go through leading up to their fights. So like, share, subscribe to our channel, guys. We got a lot of content coming soon.
I love it. I love it. So I guess obviously we can't share everything in those, you know, those clips and videos that we have. So I want to ask, like, because even myself, you know, I'm not a professional. I've never fought or anything like that, you know, but how does it, like, for somebody like David or any individual that comes, like, how does that even start? How does that conversation even come? Because obviously people come up to you all the time.
Yeah.
But, and I'm sure there's people who watch this who are members who are like, one day I want to fight. I know the last episode we had Eddie Baker that was talking about like how he's inspired and one day he wants to fight. And that's kind of like his mission right now. Somebody like a David or Eddie Baker or Martin, when they initially ask you like, hey, I want to be a fighter, like what are the first things that cross your mind, and what do you look for, and like what are the challenges that you give them in order to even start that process? How does that work?
Okay, that's a great question, buddy. To be honest, when they first tell me that, I don't believe them. To be in all honesty, I don't believe anyone that tells me, oh, I want to fight. The first thing I tell them is, okay, you want to fight? All right, I need to see you in here 5-6 times a week, multiple classes. And I'm talking 2 to 3. That's been a standard. Show me you can do that first. Show me that you can stay committed. Show me you're coming to sparring and that you're trying to learn how to do your techniques right. Show me your work ethic. You know, those are the things I typically tell them. And I tell them with Martin and David, because, you know, we took a hiatus from training fighters. And Martin was the first fighter to come out of that 3-year hiatus. And Martin and David trained 2.5 years straight, coming 6 days a week, multiple classes. They did that for 2.5 years straight to prove to me that they really want to compete. And, you know, I'm not like most coaches. Most coaches, within the first 3 months, a normal coach would have put them in the fight already. But me, I take a lot of pride in my name. I take a lot of pride in our gym. And I take pride in who they are as individuals. Why would I'm not that coach that's going to send them into the ring not prepared, you know, because I just think it's a bad representation of all of us. And I don't like that. I'm a very competitive person. I like to win. And, you know, I want to make sure I give them all the tools necessary to allow them to win.
Got it.
You know, so everyone's learning curve is different. I always say that. Everyone has a different light bulb effect. And with Martin and David, for example, it took them that long just because they were starting from ground zero. They didn't have any training prior to me, prior to the gym. So they were starting from ground zero, you know, no experience. So they had to work extra hard. If it's someone coming from an outside gym wanting to compete, I'm going to tell them the same thing, but they might have a shorter time window of when they can start getting, because they already come with experience. But my main thing is, if people know me as a coach, they know 2 things that I always say that will save your life in a fight: your defense and your footwork. So those are the 2 main things that I make sure every fighter has. I always say any fighter can get knocked out, even with a sloppy technique. There's power behind every hit. Right. So can you defend it? And can you use your footwork properly to get away and stay balanced? If my fighters have those 2 things, then I'm okay with putting them into a fight.
And then so when, because not you can't predict no matter how good somebody works out. And one thing that I remember we used to have back in the days when I would help you corner, like their physique looked amazing. Like you would think like, but you know, so the other guy is just as hungry as our guys have been. How do you determine when like somebody like loses, or, you know what I mean? Just like, that you're okay with it, and you're like, what is it that you look for in that fight that you're like, you know what, you gave your best, like, you know, let's just get back in it. And what does it determine when you're like, you do this shit again, man, and we're not doing this, you know what I mean? Like, how do you, like, because that's a hard decision too. Absolutely. Right? Because you guys you're putting somebody to work out for 2 years, and then you have to make that decision, like, let's get back in the ring and really do this, or, you know what, this shit ain't cut out for you. How does that work?
That's a great question. I'm sure a lot of coaches deal with that on a constant basis. But one thing, at least for me, I can't speak for other coaches, but for myself, what I look for is their passion. You know, how much passion are they bringing to the table with their work ethic, on their eagerness to learn and eagerness to improve. Do they have heart? Because you can't teach heart. You either have it or you don't. You know what I mean? I can teach a fighter any skill, but I can't teach them heart. I can't teach them to have a good chin or not. That you're either born with it or you don't. You know what I mean? So those are things I look for if you have heart. If you have heart, I can work with that. You know, because when you have heart, you don't give up easily. You keep pushing. You push to the end. And that's what I look for a lot too.
Got it. But what about if, like, let's say they have, like, they don't get knocked, they lose by decision, whatever it might be, but they're not listening to like what you're saying or the certain things that you want them, because you're yelling, and I'm sure you're cornering them and you're telling them, well, how does that go into play, and how do you determine that part?
Okay. I love this question.
Because, and I think we used to, back in the days, I used to help you corner somebody, and they looked amazing. They would always train. And I remember your biggest obstacle was like, you're not listening to what I'm telling you when I'm out there, and this and that. And I remember every single fight was the same. And I think, you know who we're talking about, but I remember that was your biggest issue, that you would get so upset. It was like everything was out the window, and they would just kind of do what they thought was good. You know what I mean?
That is something I learned from, because back in that time, I was not in charge of who got to fight. Okay. I was not in charge of putting that person to fight, because if it was me, I would have not put him to fight. So now being in complete control of that, by the second fight. It happens the first time, okay, I'll give them benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was the nerves. Maybe it was you know what I mean? The nerves that typically can get some people. But if you do the same thing on the second, you are not fighting anymore, because now it's just that you're just not listening. You're not coachable. Yeah. And if you're not coachable, I'm sorry, don't waste my time. Don't waste my staff's time. Don't waste your teammates who helped you get to that point. Don't waste anyone's time. Not everyone's fit out for a competition. You know what I mean? You can be still a Muay Thai practitioner. You can help out and help other people, but it's just not for you. And sometimes you just have to realize that and take ownership and just accept it. Yeah. You know, that's a great question, buddy.
You know, one thing that I love that you were saying at the fight camp, the episode 1 that we have for David, that you were saying that you were talking about how you never watch the other opponents how they fight, because you said something in the lines of like, well, you know, if we practice for this and they just go sideways and they just change it all up, like you're expected to fight a certain way or look for a certain kick or elbow or whatever there might be, their special move. Do you think that's always worked out for you for the best, or do you think there's been times where you've been like, shit, I should have like kind of maybe studied it a little bit or told my guy a little bit, or do you completely not tell him anything of what what the guy? Let's say the guy knows how to do spin back elbows and that's his thing. Would you at least be like, hey, this guy loves to do that, or would you just not tell him at all? How does that work?
I do exactly that. I tell them, like, hey, I know of this fighter. He typically likes to throw this and this. This is kind of what he's known for. But my approach is, yes, I don't like to watch too much film of an opponent just because that could have been his style for those fights that he fought. But now he knows he's fighting our guy. He might change up his training camp to fight our guy, but how would I know, right? I don't know until that day of the fight when they're in that ring and the bell goes ding and they fight. That's when I see, you know what I mean? Like how that opponent's gonna fight. So what I do is I always go into every fight. I like to know who they're fighting in a sense of what they look like, what's their height, you know, and maybe I'll watch for like 10, 15, 30 seconds tops, and then I'm good. Because then it gives me an idea of like how they move. And that's all I need to know, because I train my fighters to be ready for anything. Yeah. So that way, if his opponent changes up his fight style, we're ready for anything anyways. That's how we trained David or any of our MTK fighters for. We're ready for anything. That's one thing I don't like about studying film on a fighter, because a lot of people don't think this way. You train to fight a certain style, and what happens when this guy doesn't fight that way? Now you're like lost. Now you're trying to adapt during the fight. That's a gamble that are you willing to take that? Yeah. I'm not.
Do you think that's different, like from, because you know how, I don't know, I'm not like huge in sports, but like at least in movies you see, like in football, like all right, these are the plays they might do. Yeah. This is what they're famous for. Do you think it's a total game from fighting and like football?
Absolutely,
and all
absolutely.
That, you know?
Because football, you know, basketball, they can play. There's only certain ways they can, you know, play. They have certain special players that have certain talents to do things. There's only certain things they can kind of change up. But for fighting, sky's the limit of what someone can do in a fight. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's why I like just to prepare them for everything. You know, but every art, every sport has a different approach. Yeah. I think it's just to each his own. You know, every coach has their own philosophy. I don't think any coach is right or wrong for it. It's just what works for that coach, and that's what they're going to implement. And then if the fighter trusts that coach's philosophy, it'll work. You know, so and to answer your question, you know, every fighter that I've ever had and I've implemented my philosophy, they've always won. If they implemented what we worked on through training camp, that's dope. They've always won. And I say that with 100% confidence. And the times that my fighters have lost is because they didn't listen. They did not listen, period. They did all the things that I told them not to do. They did it. And I was like, I can't help them there.
Yeah. Was that like was it like that with Kru Neil? Like what was his game plan like?
Honestly, with Kru Neil, I just feel like he was that old school mentality, and his thing was, let's just get you experience. You'll learn. And me, on the other hand, I'm more of the because how I took it is when it was my first fight, I took a lot of pride in myself. Like, I'm representing my mom and Kru Neil. I'm representing my gym. I'm the son of Kru Neil. I can't just throw myself in there. So I took more pride. So I told Kru Neil, look, I'm going to take a year to train first. And then after a year, let's go. And it was probably the best thing I ever did. And that's why I do that for my fighters, because I realize I'm only doing it out of care. I do it that I want them to be fully prepared for what they're getting themselves into. The last thing, because I've witnessed it, I've seen our fighters go in there too soon. Some guys didn't even know how to block a kick. And they were just getting blasted in the leg. They didn't know what to do. And there was really nothing I could show them. I can't give them a lesson on blocking kicks in a minute break. You know what I mean? So I have to try and like, just hug them. You know, it was an awful experience as a coach, coaching fighters that were not prepared.
But that was back then, right?
That was back then.
Because he would throw anybody in.
Exactly.
I know that it was your first day. He was crazy.
Yes.
Dude.
Yeah, like, he was old school like that.
But he never went like, oh, this guy does spin back elbows or anything like that, or he just didn't care?
He would actually. He would say, hey, this person, I know of this fighter, he likes to do this and this. Just be careful.
Okay.
And he's the one who I always got that philosophy from. He would tell me, I'm not going to teach you to study this guy because this guy could fight different. So that's where I got my fight philosophy from, was from Kru X. He always trained me the same way. Like, look, I don't know what this guy's going to throw, but he's known for doing this and this and this. So just be careful.
That's cool.
You know, so that's how I would approach it. And that's why I do with my fighters.
That's cool. What would you say, like, out of, because I think, like, I don't know, man, it's crazy, at least from the front end or the back end, however you want to say it. But like, we see, at least when I hear the girls and people coming in, everybody's like, I want to fight, I want to fight, I want to fight. You know what I mean? What would you say like, out of 10 people, how many of those would you say, like, actually, like, end up fighting? If you, out of every 10 person, would you say that they take that shit serious?
I would say 2.
Yeah?
2 people. Because a lot of people don't realize what it really takes. It looks good. It looks glamorous on TV. All they see is the hype. You know, they see the press conferences, the trash talk, walking up to the ring with their intro song, dancing around in the cage or in the ring, throwing their hands up in the air, the audience applauding, you know, the trainers and the cornermen like hugging the fighter before they go and they just go to battle. That's all they see. But they do not see all the years, all the weeks, all the months, all the hours of training and putting their body and mental state through a horrible process where they got to do it again the next day, regardless of how they feel. They still got to do it on top of what other personal issues they're going through. Maybe they had a breakup with their significant other. Their mom has cancer. You know, she's going through chemo. They have a death in the family, but they still have to. Nobody sees that. Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about the bumps and the bruises and the mental state and the mental toughness it takes, that you're pushing your body to such a limit, you know, that you can't give up. But you have those thoughts almost every time you're going through the ringer. That's
crazy. Is it true that, like, I think it's boxing or something, like, you're not supposed to have sex the day before, the day before? Is that real or not? Is that like a thing?
That goes with the philosophy of the trainer. Like, for my trainer, Kru X, he was like, you can if you want, just make sure you get some good rest. Don't be trying to stay up all night, stay up late. He's like, you do what you need to do, and that's it. Go to sleep.
Is that it? What is in your thing? So, like, let's say, for example, let's say David at his upcoming fight. Is it like a day or 2 or a week where you're like, all right, tomorrow, like, because I've heard you say get a hotel or don't sleep in the same room, or like if you have kids, like, you know, you need to, whatever it might be. Like, what are some of your rules that you would say to somebody? Like, let's say if it was me, if tomorrow's my fight or the next 48 hours, what would be some things you'd be like, yo, bro, like these are the things that I need you to do?
I love this question. I think it would depend on the individual.
Okay.
For someone like yourself, I think I'd be okay with that. I'd be like, I would just tell you, buddy, look, you can do what you need to do, but get to bed at this hour. Make sure you're in bed by the time you normally go to sleep. Do what you need to do, get it out of your system, but that's you. Then there's other people that I'd be like, no, you can't mess with that. You need to stay sober in a sense. You know what I mean? Okay. Stay focused, because I know with you, if you were to do that, I know you're focused. You know what I mean? Because that's who you are as an individual. For myself, I'd be able to do it, and I'd be good. Yeah. You know, I've had some of my best fights after that. You know what I mean? It's just where's the mental state
or food? That? What are we talking about here? Huh? Because you said some of my best fights was right after that. So I'm like, were we still talking about that? I'm not sure, you know? Because people are like, oh, shit, all right. Push out 3.
Push out 3. No, I'm talking about competitions. Getting ready ready for competition.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure, because I was like, 10-4 on that one, buddy. That's cool, man. And I think these are things that, like, people just, you know, people don't know. Like, it looks glamorous. Like, you know, I was... Shout out to Paul on that video that he did for David in the first episode. Like,
absolutely,
this thing's amazing. If you look at that and you're just like, man, like, I really want to do it. You know what I mean? But there's so much behind it. And I think this is why we want to take this direction on some of these podcasts, just to kind of talk about like more in depth of the little small questions and in between stuff that happens in reality of life. You know, that people are like, you know, like, hey, if you're gonna do this, it's more than just looking good and amazing and, you know, having that trophy. There's a lot to it, you know, and just like business, you know, like I think we talked in my episode, like it was just like, no, like it's a lot of hard work and discipline, man. And it's like, it looks glamorous in the outside, but here we are ourselves, you know what I mean? On, you know, shooting this and putting in the work because we're passionate about it. And we understand that not a lot of people, you know, can do it or want to do it or whatever it might be. And then shout out to the people who do it. Because shit, dude, this just shooting podcasts, I'm going to be honest with you. I got caught up in it and I was like, man, that looks cool. Let's just do it. But, you know, it's a lot of work, man. And it's like, you know, now we're like trying to figure things out and it's just anything that you want that just hits a milestone to something different that you want is just, there's in between that, there's a lot of grind to it. You know what I mean? Absolutely. Which is cool. And that's kind of like one of the things that like, I think was cool to tap into, you know? But I guess we have Supergirl coming up, dude.
Yeah.
Do you know what do you know about her? Like, do you know? I know that she's I know that Kim gave me some info. Like, she's 19, right? She's been training since she was 3 years old. And that's another thing that I was gonna ask you. So in the Thai culture and Muay Thai fighters, you guys start young, dude. Like 3 years old, bro. Like, and I've seen it like in videos, and you don't really hear that about that here in the What's the difference like between like an American kickboxer or Muay Thai, somebody that does Muay Thai here in America as opposed to like in Thailand and stuff like that?
Okay. No, this is great. So in Thailand, a lot of people don't realize Muay Thai is originally a poor man's sport. And what I mean by that is, you know, in Thailand, you have either rich or you have poor. There's really no middle class. It's either rich or you're poor. And the rich people aren't going to fight. They're going to go to school. They're going to get education. They're going to go into some type of form of business because they're educated. They know they come from a family that has money. They come from a family that has businesses and have built up business empires. So the poor people are the ones that want a better life for their families. And they realize, man, fighting is a great way to bring in more income quicker. And so with fighters, kids can start as early as 5 to 7 years old competing. And that's because as early as that age, buddy, 5 to 7, already in their minds, they're thinking, I want to be the best fighter so I can make money to bring it home to feed my family, to make a better life for my family. My parents work so hard as farmers. They don't make much money. It's an impressive mindset at being that age. Can you imagine at 5 years old to 7 years old thinking, I want to be the best fighter. I want to fight at Lumpini Stadium. I want to fight at Rajamgan Stadium and be a champion and make more money so I can help take care of my family. That's a whole nother world. So when they get submersed into Muay Thai, they train for a different reason. They train to put food on the table. It's not a hobby for them. It's a way of life. It's either we eat or we die. Like, that's literally, like, to make it so black and white and transparent, that's literally what, so when they go into it, the way they train, the way they fight is much more intense because they realize I got to give it my all or my family is going to be put out. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's an intense livelihood over there. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. And it is true. Like 5 to 7 years old, they're already fighting. You know, I think at that age, though, they're not allowed to throw elbows yet. I think until they get into double digits, if I remember correctly the facts. It's like, I think at 10 years old, they can start throwing elbows. Right on. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty gnarly. So they, yeah, it's just impressive. So in Thailand, a lot of people don't know, you can literally fight every day. There's fight promotions going on every single day of the week. Oh, shit. And that's why these fighters, if they don't get hurt, the owner of the camp they belong to will put them again to fight maybe towards the end of the week or maybe sometimes the next day. I've heard stories that sometimes they'll fight a few hours later just because they're not hurt. Maybe they won by knockout and they're like, hey, there's a fight. They need a fighter. They'll go. it's crazy over there. It's impressive. And that's why they're able to get these crazy 250 plus fights. By the time they're like in their mid-20s, they already have like 250 some fights. It's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I've heard that, and I'm like, how is that even possible, dude? But I mean, it all makes sense. Over there, can you gamble like against somebody? I mean, can you bet on somebody? Like, if you're fighting, is that how it works?
Absolutely. Yeah, betting actually it predominantly controls the fights, to be honest. Like when you there's so much betting going on, literally broken down from not only the fight, but it breaks down by round, breaks down by each minute. Like people will bet on a minute, like what's going to happen. It's crazy out there. So yes. And then what bettors will do is sometimes when they have a lot of money riding on a certain fighter, they'll go make their way to the corner and tell them like, hey, if you knock this person out, I'll give you X amount of baht, which is Thai money. I'll give you X amount of baht if you knock this guy out. No so shit. It's because they're going to win so much money. They're like, man, X amount of baht is going to like ensure that I get this win. So that motivates and inspires the fighter to like really go at it. You know what I mean? And when it happens, sure enough, the bettor comes down, gives them the money, and the bettor's so happy. So the betting plays a huge role in how fights take place.
That's crazy. Yeah. Dude. That's nuts. Yeah, I know. Every time we were like playing those videos on the, you know, in the front and all that, I'm like, it doesn't seem like anybody gets hurt and they're going at it. You know what I mean? Which is pretty impressive. Yeah. So, and then it's funny because you'll see it like, you'll see them fight somebody from a different country and it's a total different game, you know what I mean? Or the way they dominate and all that. But going back to Supergirl, I mean, it's going to be sick, dude. Yes, this seminar, it's going to be on what, the
March 12th. March 12th. The day after David's fight.
Which is sick.
Day after David's fight.
I know that she's going to be on our podcast.
Yes, she is.
That's going to be cool.
Yes, she is.
And then she's going to have what I believe we are having a 2-hour seminar. She's also going to take pictures with people and all that. How much do you know about her and what you've heard about her?
Well, Supergirl, I know she has a sister who also fights. Her name is Wonder Girl. Okay. You know what I mean? They're just a fighting family. It's amazing to see. And Supergirl is so like her build for fighting is awesome. She's tall, she's got long arms, long legs, and she's vicious with the knees. I've seen her recent fight. She fought a girl by the name of Stamp Fairtex in one championship. I honestly thought she got robbed. I thought Supergirl should have won that just by more significant hits, being the aggressor the whole fight. She took some good shots from Stamp too, but I just felt like she threw more solid combinations that should have scored more. But who knows? You know, sometimes there's politics involved with fighting, and even at the biggest stage. But she's really well known for the knees. But honestly, after seeing her last fight, she's really improved in her hands. Her boxing has gotten really good. She's very aggressive. She's tough. But you look at her, she's so sweet. She plays. And that's typical. A lot of people don't realize Thai people are very playful people. Even the toughest Muay Thai fighters you see, they're very playful. They joke. You know, they have fun. Yeah. You know what I mean? But she's vicious. Yeah. So I'm excited for the members, not only the women to learn from her, but even the fellas. The fellas are going to get a lot of great content from her. And I know Supergirl's super excited because we're actually... this is her first tour in the US and we're the only gym in California that got to book her.
But not only that, we're the first stop.
That's right.
We're the first stop, so I'm excited. And I was thinking, what is it called? I think Kim said the spearing knee is what it's known. So maybe we can get a volunteer to get one of those.
Yeah.
Who's brave enough, right? I was gonna do it, but I'm not brave enough. So well, maybe we'll have Kim do it or something. What do you think? Or Jen.
Or Jen. Or Jen.
Or Andres. We'll see. We'll flip a coin, you know? Like yeah, but I'm excited. I think it's gonna be huge for our gym, for our community. I think everybody's excited. We already sold out. It's insane, dude. Yeah. It's gonna be cool, man. And then Rod Tang is gonna also be coming. Absolutely. And he's already scheduled up for that, which it's just we have a lot of great things happening for our community and
don't forget he's gonna be on our podcast too.
Yeah, I know it's gonna be sick. And we'll see who he hits. Maybe I don't know, Kim again, you know.
Maybe Paul. I don't know.
But other than that, bro, I mean I don't know, man. I'm excited. I mean, you know, I know this is something that we talked about, you know, that we wanted to tap into, you know, with the new episodes we got coming up. And, you know, we're just going to keep pushing out these videos and really like like bring this community of Muay Thai just more out there, you know, and we have so many great things, events coming up, you know.
And don't forget, Martin is also fighting again too, April 8th.
I know, that's going to be exciting, man. That guy is a beast.
Yes.
He's been going at it. He's been training like crazy. So yeah, it's going to be amazing. Do you know where he's fighting at?
He'll be fighting at the Commerce Casino, April 8th.
That's dope. Yeah. That's dope. So we have a busy next 45 days. We have a lot going on. So I'm excited, man.
Me too, man.
I'm excited.
Me too.
So, I think that's it for today. You know what I mean? Absolutely. I think the next podcast, hopefully we should have Supergirl on here. And, you know, we have a lot of other stuff that we have coming out. But we thank you guys for joining us. And if you guys can please share, subscribe, and like. And if there's any questions or anything you guys would like to hear from us, by all means, drop the comment, let us know, email us, or whatever you guys want, and we'll definitely talk about it.
Yeah. Stay tuned next week, guys.